Ambassador Taemin Kim sat in the cold metal chair and tried to keep his face calm. Around him, the giant chamber of Nexus Station buzzed with the voices of hundreds of alien beings. They spoke in clicks, hisses, and sounds that hurt human ears. The air smelled like chemicals and rotting fruit. For 3 weeks, Taemin had come to this place every day. For 3 weeks, he had listened to the Galaxy Council tell humanity what they could and could not do. And for 3 weeks, every idea the humans offered was thrown away like garbage. Dr. Heejin Park sat next to him, her tablet full of notes that nobody would read. She was the smartest person Taemin knew. She understood alien cultures better than most aliens understood themselves. But even she looked tired now. Dark circles ringed her eyes. Behind them, Captain Bo-Ram Lee stood with her hands behind her, back. She watched everything with the sharp eyes of a soldier. Her job was to protect the human team, but there was nothing she could do to protect them from insults and lies. The humans claim their FTL drives are better than ours, said Counselor Vexthera, his voice like nails on glass. The tall, thin alien looked down at the humans from his high seat. His skin was gray and smooth, and his forearms moved as he talked. This is clearly impossible. Humans have only had space travel for a few hundred years. We have traveled the stars for thousands. Taemin wanted to laugh, but he kept quiet. Human FTL drives were not just better. They were so much better that alien ships often broke down trying to keep up. Human engines could jump farther, faster, and with less fuel, but every time the humans tried to share this technology, the aliens said it was too simple to work. Perhaps, said another council member, the humans could serve as cargo haulers for the real civilizations. This was Quindal, the High Arbiter who ran the council meetings. He was old even by alien standards, with wrinkled blue skin and yellow eyes that never blinked. They seemed good at carrying things from place to place. More laughter from the council. Taemin felt his hands turn into fists under the table, cargo haulers. As if humans were pack animals. Dr. Hyojin leaned over and whispered, "Stay calm. We knew this would be hard. But it was not just hard. It was impossible." The humans had come to these peace talks with open hearts and minds. They brought gifts of technology, art, and knowledge. They offered to share medical treatments that could save millions of alien lives. They proposed trade deals that would make everyone richer. The aliens took the gifts and threw them away. They said human art was ugly. They called human medicine dangerous primitive potions. They laughed at human science even when it solved problems the aliens had struggled with for centuries. Now, said High Arbiter Quindal, we come to the matter of humanity's place in our galaxy. He pulled up a hologram that showed the known star systems. Humans currently control 37 worlds. This is far too many for such a young species. Taemin stood up. Those worlds were empty when we found them. We built the cities. We created the farms. We made them homes for our people. Irrelevant, said Vexithera. Older species have the right to take any world they need. This is the natural order. Humans will give up 25 of these worlds to the Council for redistribution. The chamber fell quiet. Even the other aliens seemed surprised by this demand. Captain Bo-Ram took a step forward, but Taemin held up his hand to stop her. You want us to give up worlds where millions of humans live? Where our children were born? Taemin's voice was steady, but everyone could hear the anger underneath. The humans will be relocated, said Quindal like he was talking about moving furniture. The Council will find suitable places for them to live. Perhaps some nice asteroids or empty moons. Dr. Hyojin made a small sound of shock. Asteroids. They wanted to put human families on chunks of rock in space. This is not a request, continued Vexthera. This is the price of joining our council. Humans may become junior members if they accept our terms. You will have no vote in council decisions, but you may speak when we allow it. You will follow all council laws without question. You will share all your technology with us, but you may not use ours without permission. And if we refuse? Asked Taemin. The aliens looked at each other and made sounds that might have been laughter. Then you will remain alone in your small corner of space, said Quindal. No trade, no protection, no contact with civilized beings. When enemies come for you, you will face them by yourselves. Captain Boram stepped forward again. We have faced enemies before. Not like the ones that live in the dark spaces between stars, hissed another council member. You need us more than we need you. The humans had heard rumors about these dark space enemies, pirates and raiders that attacked from nowhere and disappeared just as quickly. The aliens called them void hunters, and even saying the name seemed to scare them. But Taemin was not thinking about space pirates. He was thinking about his daughter back on Earth, playing in gardens that his people had planted. He was thinking about human cities full of art and music and laughter. He was thinking about scientists like Dr. Hyejin who worked day and night to make life better for everyone. We need time to think about this, he said finally. You have had 3 weeks to think, said Vexthara. We grow tired of waiting. Give us your answer now. The High Arbiter leaned forward in his chair. Let me make this simple for you. Humans are clever animals, nothing more. You make useful tools and you follow orders well. But you are not our equals. You should be grateful we even allow you in this chamber. The words hit Taemin like a punch to the stomach. Clever animals. 3 weeks of insults and demands, and it all came down to this. The aliens did not see humans as people. They saw them as pets. Dr. Hyejin put her hand on his arm, but Taemin was already standing. Around the chamber, hundreds of alien faces turned to look at him. Some seemed curious. Others looked bored, like they were watching a child throw a tantrum. For 3 weeks, Taemin said, his voice carrying across the silent chamber, we have come here in peace. We have offered friendship. We have shared our knowledge and our dreams. We have tried to build something good together. He looked directly at Vexthara. And for 3 weeks you have treated us like dirt under your feet. You have mocked our gifts. You have dismissed our ideas. You have demanded that we give up our homes and our freedom. Captain Boram was moving now, signaling to her team. They began packing up the human materials with quick, efficient movements. Very well, Taemin continued. We understand now. Humanity formally withdraws from these negotiations. We reject your offer of junior membership. We reject your demands for our worlds. We reject everything you have said and done here. He started walking toward the exit, Dr. Hyejin and Captain Boram beside him. The other human team members followed, carrying their boxes and computers. You will be back, shouted High Arbiter Quindal. Your species needs us. You cannot survive alone in this galaxy. Taemin stopped at the door and turned around one last time. The chamber was full of alien faces staring at him. Some looked angry. Others seemed confused. A few appeared almost sad. No, Taemin said quietly, but his voice reached every corner of the room. We really do not. The humans walked out of the chamber and did not look back. Behind them, the aliens began talking all at once, their voices rising in anger and confusion. But the humans were already gone, heading for their ships and the long journey home. As they traveled through the station corridors, Dr. Hyejin walked beside Taemin. What happens now? She asked. Taemin thought about that question for a long moment. Now we go home, he said, and we remember everything they said to us today. Everything. Captain Boram nodded grimly. They called us clever animals. Yes, said Taemin. They did. I think they are going to regret that. Admiral Seok Ho-jang stood on the bridge of the human battleship Freedom and watched the stars. 6 months had passed since the humans walked out of the peace talks. 6 months since they had been called clever animals. And for 6 months, Admiral Zhang had been making sure the galaxy understood what that insult would cost them. Report, he said to his communications officer. All human colonies have gone dark, sir, said Lieutenant Min Seo-cho. She was young but brilliant, one of the best engineers in the human fleet. No alien ships can find our worlds anymore. No alien messages are getting through to our space. As far as they know, humanity has vanished. Admiral Zhang nodded. Operation Silent Running was working perfectly. Every human world had activated special shields that made them invisible to alien sensors. Every human ship had been recalled from alien space. Every human citizen living on alien worlds had quietly packed up and left in the middle of the night. The humans had not just withdrawn from the peace talks. They had withdrawn from the entire galaxy. "Sir," said another officer, "we are getting reports that some alien ships are asking for help. Their engines are breaking down and they cannot reach the repair stations." "Let them break down," said Admiral Zhang. "They wanted us gone. Now they have what they wanted." On the other side of the galaxy, things were getting complicated for the aliens. Trade Minister Kyloneth sat in her office on the trading world of Nexus Prime and stared at reports that made no sense. "How can an entire species just disappear?" she asked her assistant. "We do not know, Minister," the assistant replied. "One day the humans were everywhere, flying cargo ships, running medical clinics, managing trade routes. The next day, nothing. No humans anywhere." Kyloneth pulled up a chart showing galactic trade routes. Red lines showed where cargo was not moving anymore. The red lines were everywhere. "This says that humans were handling 30% of all cargo transport in the galaxy. How did we not know this?" "They were very quiet about it, Minister. Human ships were fast and cheap. Many companies used them without thinking about who owned the ships." The trade minister felt a cold feeling in her stomach. "And now all those ships are gone." "Yes, Minister, and no one else can move cargo that fast or that cheap." On the war world of Koltar, General Morthak was having an even worse day. He stood in front of a holographic map that showed the galaxy's defense lines. There were holes everywhere. "Explain this to me again," he said to his intelligence officer. "Sir, humans were providing security for 47 trade routes. They were also running early warning systems for 32 star systems. When they disappeared, all of that security disappeared with them." General Morthak touched one of the holes in the defense line. "This sector here, pirates have been attacking ships every day for 2 weeks. Why are we not stopping them?" "Our ships cannot get there fast enough, sir. The humans had patrol boats that could jump between 3 systems in 1 day. Our fastest ships take 3 days to make the same trip. Then build faster ships. We are trying, sir, but the humans never shared their engine technology with us. We are trying to copy it, but their designs make no sense. They are too simple. Our engineers say they should not work. But they did work. Everyone knew they worked because human ships had been outrunning everyone else for years. Now those ships were gone, and no one knew how to replace them." In the council chambers on Nexus Station, High Arbiter Quindal was getting very angry reports from all over the galaxy. "Medicine," said the health minister. "Human doctors were providing treatments for 17 different diseases. Those treatments are not available anymore. Aliens are dying." "Food," said the agriculture minister. "Humans were growing food on worlds we thought were too cold or too dry to farm. That food is not coming to market anymore. Some systems are running short on supplies." "Technology," said the science minister. "Humans were developing new computers, new materials, new energy systems. All of that research has stopped. Our own technology development has slowed down by 60%. Quindal slammed his hand on the table. "How could one small species cause so many problems? They are just clever animals." Counselor Drakfin, who had always been more reasonable than the others, spoke quietly. "Perhaps we made a mistake calling them that." "Nonsense," said Vexithera. "They are proving how primitive they are by running away. A truly advanced species would have accepted our generous offer." But privately, even Vexithera was worried. His own world depended on medicines that human doctors had developed. Without those medicines, his people were getting sick. Back on Earth, engineer Minseo Cho was working 18 hours a day in the research labs. She had been given one simple order: make sure humanity never needed aliens for anything ever again. "Show me the new engine designs," she said to her team. A hologram appeared showing a sleek new engine that was twice as powerful as anything humans had built before. "This one can jump between star systems so fast that alien sensors cannot even track the movement," said one of her engineers. "Good. What about the shields?" Another hologram showed a shimmering energy field. "These shields can stop any weapon the aliens have. They can also make our ships invisible to all alien sensors. And the weapons? The final hologram made Minseo smile. These can punch through any alien armor, but more importantly, they can disable alien ships without destroying them. We might need prisoners someday. Minseo nodded. How long before we can build these for the whole fleet? 6 months for the engines. 1 year for everything else. Make it faster. The Admiral says we might not have that much time. She was right. To worry. On the edge of galaxy, something was stirring in the dark spaces between stars. Void hunter ships were moving, testing the galaxy's defenses. They had noticed that the defense lines were weaker now. They had noticed that the fast human patrol ships were gone. The Void Hunters did not understand politics or peace talks. They only understood strength and weakness, and the galaxy was looking weaker every day. Captain In-Ho Kang commanded one of humanity's new stealth ships. His job was to watch the aliens without being seen. What he saw was not good news. Admiral. He reported over secure communications. The alien defense lines are falling apart. Pirates are attacking everywhere. Trade ships are being robbed or destroyed. Some systems are asking for help, but no one can respond fast enough. What about the Void Hunters? Asked Admiral Zhang. Movement on the edge of galaxy, sir. Small groups, but they are getting bolder. The aliens do not seem to know they are there. Admiral Zhang thought about this for a long moment. The Void Hunters were everyone's enemy, humans and aliens alike. If they decided to attack while the galaxy's defenses were weak, billions would die. Keep watching, he told Captain Kang. But do not interfere. Not yet. On Nexus Station, Counselor Drakven was having a private meeting with Trade Minister Kylneth and General Morthak. They sat in a small room where no one could hear them. We have to talk to the humans, said Kylneth. The economy is falling apart. Food shortages are starting on 12 worlds. Medicine shortages on 30 more. The military situation is even worse, said General Morthak. Pirates are everywhere. Our response times are terrible, and intelligence reports suggest the Void Hunters are moving. Drakven nodded slowly. I tried to warn the Council 6 months ago. Humans were not just traders and cargo haulers. They were the backbone of galactic civilization, and we were too proud to see it. What do we do? Asked Kylneth. We could send a message to human space, suggested General Morthak. Ask for a meeting. The High Arbiter would never allow it, said Drakven. He still believes humans will come crawling back when they get hungry enough. What if they do not come back? Asked Kylneth quietly. What if they decide they are better off without us? The three aliens sat in silence thinking about that terrible possibility. Outside their window, Nexus Station buzzed with activity, but it was the activity of a civilization that was slowly falling apart. Far away on the human world of New Seoul, President Sujin Ryu was reading the same intelligence reports that Captain Kang had sent. She was a former general herself, and she understood what the reports meant. They are in trouble, she said to her advisors. Real trouble. The question is, what do we do about it? Let them suffer, said one advisor. They called us animals. Millions of innocent aliens will die if the Void Hunters attack, said another. That is not their fault. President Ryu walked to the window and looked out at the city below. Human children were playing in parks. Human families were living in peace. 6 months ago, aliens had demanded that humans give up worlds like this one. We will wait, she said finally. But we will be ready. When they come to us, and they will come to us, we will be ready to talk. But this time we talk as equals. This time they listen to us. Outside, the stars shone brightly in the alien sky. Somewhere among those stars, the aliens were learning what they had lost when they drove humanity away. And in the dark spaces beyond the stars, something hungry was watching and waiting for its chance to strike. 2 years had passed since the humans walked away, and the galaxy was dying slowly. Counselor Drakven stood in the ruins of what used to be the busiest trading station in the Outer Rim. Broken ships floated in space around the station like dead fish in a pond. Pirates had attacked this place 3 times in the past month, and no one had been able to stop them. How many dead? He asked the station commander. 47 this time, the commander replied. They took all our medical supplies, and most of our food. Without fast transport, we cannot get replacements for weeks. Drakvin nodded grimly. Before the humans left, this station would have been protected by human patrol ships that could respond to attacks in minutes. Emergency supplies would have arrived within hours on fast human cargo ships. Now, help was days away, if it came at all on Earth. President Sujin Ryu was reading reports that told a different story. In just 2 years, humanity had become something new and powerful. Dr. Wu Jin Nam, the lead scientist for the Human Technology Project, stood beside her desk with a tablet full of impossible achievements. The new matter converters are working perfectly, Dr. Nam reported. We can now turn raw energy into any material we need. Food, medicine, building materials, anything. What about the defense systems? Asked President Ryu. The quantum resonance shields make our ships almost impossible to hit. Even if enemy weapons do connect, the shields absorb the energy and make us stronger. Our new AI targeting systems can predict enemy movements before they make them. President Ryu looked at the holographic display showing human space. Every world was protected by advanced defense systems. Every ship was faster and stronger than anything aliens had ever built. Humanity had not just survived alone. They had grown into something magnificent. And the stealth reconnaissance program? Captain. Inho reports that alien civilization is collapsing faster every month. Food shortages on over 100 worlds now. Their fastest ships take 3 days to travel distances our ships can cover in 3 hours. Pirate attacks have increased by 400%. The president walked to her window and looked out at New Seoul's skyline. The city sparkled with new technologies that made life better for everyone. Children played in parks, filled with flowers that humans had learned to grow in any climate. The air was clean, the water was pure, and no one went hungry. What about the Void Hunter activity? Dr. Nam's expression became serious. Captain Inho reports major movements along the galaxy's edge. They are testing the alien defense lines and finding them weak. Our computers estimate a full invasion could begin within 6 months. President Ryu considered this. The Void Hunters were nightmare creatures from the dark spaces between galaxies. They fed on energy and lived only to destroy. When they came, they would not care about politics or species. They would try to kill everyone. Do the aliens know? Some do. Counselor Drakvin has been trying to warn the Galaxy Council. But High Arbiter Quindal refuses to believe the threat is real. He is more concerned about looking weak in front of other council members. Captain Inho Kang was at that moment floating, in his stealth ship just outside alien space, watching something that made his blood run cold. Through his advanced sensors, he could see Void Hunter scout ships moving through the dark areas between star systems. They were not hiding anymore. They were preparing. Admiral, he transmitted back to human command. I count over 200 Void Hunter ships gathering in Sector 7. This is not a raiding party. This is an invasion force. Admiral Seokho Jang received the message on the bridge of his flagship. Around him, the most advanced fleet in galactic history waited for orders. Human ships that could appear and disappear at will. Weapons that could crack planets. Shields that turned enemy attacks into additional power. How long before they attack? Admiral Jang asked. Based on their movement patterns, I estimate 3 to 4 months, Captain Inho replied. The aliens have no idea what is coming. Their deep space sensors are not advanced enough to detect Void Hunter stealth technology. Admiral Jang thought about the millions of aliens who would die when the Void Hunters attacked. Men, women, and children who had nothing to do with the peace talk insults. They did not deserve to die just because their leaders were proud and stupid. Continue monitoring, he ordered, and prepare the fleet for possible deployment. On Nexus Station, High, Arbiter Quindal was facing the worst crisis of his long career. The council chamber was in chaos as representatives from dozens of worlds shouted demands and complaints. My people are starving, yelled the representative from Koltar. Our agricultural systems have failed, and we cannot get replacement parts. Pirates destroyed 3 of our trading ships last week, shouted another. Where is the protection you promised us? Our medical centers are closing, cried a third. Without human treatments, we cannot cure basic diseases anymore. Quindal banged his staff on the floor, trying to restore order. Silence. We are working on solutions to these temporary problems. Counselor Drakvin stood up slowly. He was older now and tired from 2 years of fighting against his colleagues' pride. These are not temporary problems, High Arbiter. These are the consequences of our actions. What do you mean? Demanded Vexthara, though he looked weaker than before. His own world was suffering from medicine shortages, and his gray skin had taken on a sickly color. I mean, we destroyed our own civilization when we drove the humans away, Drakvin said clearly. We thought they were junior partners who provided simple services. We were wrong. They were the foundation that held everything together. General Morthak, who had been quiet during the meeting, suddenly spoke up. There is something else. Intelligence reports indicate massive Void Hunter movement on the galaxy's edge. The chamber fell silent. Even mentioning the Void Hunters was enough to terrify most council members. How massive? Asked Quindal, his voice suddenly small. Hundreds of ships, maybe thousands. If they attack, our current defense systems will not stop them. Before the humans left, we might have had a chance. Now, General Morthak did not finish the sentence. Trade Minister Kylneth stood up next. I have been studying the economic data for 2 years. The humans were not just cargo haulers or medical providers. They were innovators. Every major technological advancement in the past 50 years was either invented by humans or improved by them. Without human research, our technological progress has almost stopped. We have our own scientists, protested Vexithara. Yes, said Kylneth sadly. Scientists who spent most of their time studying human innovations instead of creating their own. Scientists who are now trying to reinvent technologies they do not really understand. Counselor Drakvin activated a holographic display that showed the current state of galactic civilization. Red zones marked areas where pirates operated freely. Yellow zones showed worlds with food or medicine shortages. Green zones showed places where life was still normal. There were very few green zones left. This is what we accomplished when we rejected humanity's partnership, Drakven said. This is the price of calling them clever animals. High Arbiter. Quindal stared at the hologram for a long time. His political career was built on the idea that older species were naturally superior to younger ones. Admitting he was wrong about humans would destroy everything he had worked for. But the evidence was overwhelming. The galaxy was falling apart without human support. What do you suggest we do? He asked quietly. We contact them, said Drakven. We apologize. We beg for their help. Impossible, shouted Vexithara. We are the Galaxy Council. We do not beg. Then we die, said General Morthak simply. Because when the Void Hunters come, we will not be able to stop them alone. That night, Counselor Drakven sent a secret message toward human space. He did not know if humans would receive it or answer it, but he had to try. To any human who receives this message, the transmission began. My name is Drakven of the Zentorian Republic. I speak only for myself, not for the Galaxy Council. 2 years ago, we made a terrible mistake. We let our pride and prejudice blind us to your true value. We called you animals when you were clearly our equals or perhaps our superiors. He paused, thinking about all the aliens who would die if the Void Hunters attacked. I do not expect forgiveness. I do not expect friendship. But I am asking for mercy, not for those of us who wronged you, but for the billions of innocent beings who will suffer for our mistakes. The galaxy needs your help. Without it, we will all fall to the darkness. The message traveled through space toward the edge of human territory. It would take days to reach its destination, and Drakven did not know if anyone would be listening when it arrived. On Earth, President Sujin Ryu received the message 3 days later. She read it carefully, then called her advisors to an emergency meeting. So, she said, it begins. They are finally ready to admit they were wrong. What do we do? Asked Dr. Nam. President Ryu looked out her window again at the peaceful city below. Human children were still playing in the parks, still safe and happy. But somewhere in the dark spaces between stars, something hungry was preparing to destroy all of that. "We listen," she said finally. "But this time, we listen as equals, and we make sure they understand the price of the mistakes they made." The Void Hunters came like death itself. General Morthak stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched his sensors fill with enemy contacts. Hundreds of dark ships materialized from the spaces between dimensions, their hulls absorbing light like black holes. Each ship was the size of a city, covered in weapons that sparked with malevolent energy. "All ships battle formation," he commanded. "Defend the outer colonies." The first alien defense fleet to engage the Void Hunters lasted exactly 17 minutes. Dark energy beams sliced through alien shields like they were made of paper. Void Hunter ships phased in and out of normal space, making them almost impossible to hit. When alien weapons did manage to connect, the dark hulls simply absorbed the energy and became stronger. 3 star systems fell in the first week, 7 more in the second week. Entire worlds went silent, their populations dead or fled. The Galaxy Council's finest military forces were being destroyed so quickly that General Morthak could barely track the losses. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we are receiving surrender requests from 14 colony worlds. They want to evacuate before the Void Hunters arrive." General Morthak closed his eyes. Surrender. The word tasted like ashes in his mouth. "Grant them permission. Get the civilians out of there." But there was nowhere safe to run. The Void Hunters were advancing on all fronts, and the alien fleet could not stop them. Every battle was a massacre. Every defense line crumbled within hours. On Nexus Station, High Arbiter Quindel watched the holographic war display with growing horror. Red markers showed Void Hunter positions. They were spreading across the galaxy like a disease. "How many ships have we lost?" he asked. "Over 3,000, replied his aide. "The Void Hunters have lost less than 50. Quindal felt sick. In 2 weeks of fighting, the aliens had been almost completely defeated. Their weapons could not penetrate Void Hunter armor. Their shields could not stop Void Hunter energy beams. Their ships were too slow to escape and too weak to fight. "Sir," said another aide, "Counselor Drakven is requesting permission to send another message to human space." "Denied," said Quindal automatically. Then he stopped and looked at the war display again. In another week, maybe 2, the Void Hunters would reach the core worlds. Billions would die. "Actually," he said quietly, "grant permission. Tell Drakven to say whatever he thinks might work." Fleet Admiral Jin Woo Song commanded the most powerful military force in galactic history. The human fleet had grown and evolved during the 2 years of isolation. Ships that could phase through dimensions like the Void Hunters, weapons that manipulated matter at the quantum level, AI systems that could predict enemy movements before they happened. "Admiral," reported his science officer, Dr. Yejin Choi, "our deep space sensors are detecting massive Void Hunter activity. They have engaged the alien defense forces across 17 sectors." "Casualties?" asked Admiral Song. "Alien casualties are severe. The Void Hunters are using technology similar to what we developed during our research projects. Dark energy manipulation, dimensional phasing, quantum resonance weapons. But their versions are crude, inefficient." Admiral Song nodded. 2 years ago, human scientists had been working on countermeasures for exactly these types of weapons. The aliens had called the research primitive theorizing and refused to pay attention. Now those theories were the only hope for galactic survival. What about our own readiness? "The fleet is ready for combat, sir. Our new quantum resonance shields can deflect dark energy weapons. Our dimensional anchors can prevent enemy phasing. Our matter disruptors can penetrate any known armor." Admiral Song walked to the viewport and looked out at the human fleet. 200 ships that each carried more firepower than entire alien fleets. They were beautiful and terrible, gleaming white against the darkness of space. "Sir," his communications officer interrupted, "we are receiving a transmission from alien space. Priority diplomatic channel." "Put it through." The hologram of Counselor Drakven appeared on the bridge. The alien looked much older than when the humans had last seen him. His scales were dull and his eyes were filled with desperation. Admiral Song, Drakven began. I am speaking not just for myself now, but for every living being in the galaxy. The Void Hunters have returned and we cannot stop them. Our fleets are being destroyed, our worlds are falling. In a matter of weeks, they will reach the core systems where billions live. Admiral Song said nothing, just watched and listened. I know we have no right to ask for your help, Drakven continued. We insulted you. We dismissed your offer of friendship. We called you animals. But please, if you have any mercy in your hearts, do not let innocent children die for the crimes of their leaders. The transmission ended. Admiral Song turned to his officers. Opinions? Sir, said Dr. Choi, our intelligence suggests the aliens are correct. Without intervention, the Void Hunters will overrun the galaxy within a month. The death toll will be in the trillions. And militarily? We can stop them, said the tactical officer. Our technology is specifically designed to counter their advantages, but it would mean revealing our full capabilities to the aliens. Admiral Song considered this. For 2 years, humanity had worked in secret to become the most powerful force in the galaxy. They had done this not for conquest, but for survival. Now they had to decide whether to use that power to save people who had treated them like animals. Contact President Ryu, he said finally. This decision is above my authority level. On Earth, President Sujin Ryu called an emergency session of the Human Council. Representatives from every human world gathered virtually to discuss the most important decision in their species' history. The situation is clear, President Ryu told them. The aliens are facing extinction from the Void Hunters. They cannot win without our help. The question is, do we help them? They called us clever animals, said the representative from New Busan. They demanded we give up our worlds. Why should we save them? Because we are not like them, replied the representative from New Seoul. We do not let children die because we dislike their parents. If we help them now, said another representative, they will know how powerful we have become. That could make them more dangerous in the future. Or, said Dr. Nam, who was attending, as a technical advisor, it could finally make them respect us. The debate continued for hours. Representatives argued about morality, strategy, and the future of humanity. Finally, President Ryu called for order. I have heard all your arguments, she said. Now I will make the decision. We will help them, but not for free, and not as the junior partners they wanted us to be. 3 days later, a single human ship appeared at the edge of the battle zone, where General Morthak was making his last stand. The ship was small and white, beautiful in its simplicity. Alien sensors could barely detect it. Admiral Song's voice came over the communication channels. General Morthak, this is Admiral Song of the Human Defense Force. We are here to discuss terms. Terms? General Morthak could barely believe what he was hearing. Admiral, my fleet is about to be destroyed. I do not think this is the time for negotiations. On the contrary, said Admiral Song calmly. This is exactly the time for negotiations. You need our help. We are willing to provide it. But there will be conditions. As if to emphasize the point, the human ship suddenly accelerated toward the Void Hunter fleet at impossible speed. Dark energy beams lanced out to intercept it, but the ship simply phased through the attacks like they were not there. It fired. A single weapon and a Void Hunter cruiser the size of a mountain simply disappeared. The human ship returned to its original position as if nothing had happened. Impressive, said General Morthak, trying to keep the awe out of his voice. What are your conditions? First, said Admiral Song, humanity will have a senior position in any new galactic government. Not junior membership, not probationary status, full partnership with voting rights. Agreed, said General Morthak immediately. Second, all human technology will remain human property. We will share what we choose to share, when we choose to share it. Agreed. Third, the worlds you demanded from us 2 years ago remain ours. Forever. Agreed. And finally, Admiral Song's voice became very cold. High Arbiter Quindal and Counselor Vexithera will publicly apologize to humanity for their insults. In front of the entire Galaxy Council, On permanent record. General Morthak thought about the two politicians who had caused this crisis with their arrogance. I will do my best to arrange that, Admiral. See that you do. Now, if you will excuse me, I have some void hunters to destroy. The human ship accelerated away toward the enemy fleet. General Morthak watched in amazement as it began tearing through void hunter ships like they were made of paper. Dark energy beams that had destroyed alien fleets could not even touch the small white vessel. Within 6 hours, the entire void hunter attack force was either destroyed or fled back to dark space. Not a single human ship was damaged. Not a single human life was lost. Admiral, General Morthak transmitted. How many ships do you have? Enough, came the reply. More than enough. As the human ship disappeared into hyperspace, General Morthak realized that everything had changed. The clever animals had become the apex predators, and the galaxy would never be the same again. 5 years had passed since the humans walked out of the peace talks. 5 years since they had been called clever animals. Now, Ambassador Hyun-Soo Park stood in the same council chamber where her people had been insulted. But everything was different. The chamber itself looked the same, but the beings inside it had changed completely. Where once alien representatives had sat in tall chairs looking down on others, now every seat was at the same level. Where once the High Arbiter had commanded from a throne-like position, now there was a circular table where all species sat, as equals. The old Galaxy Council was dead. In its place stood the Galactic Confederation, and humanity held the position they had always deserved. The meeting will come to order, said Ambassador Hyun-Soo, her voice carrying easily across the chamber. She wore the simple blue uniform of the Confederation Secretary General, a position that had not existed under the old system. Around the table sat representatives from every major species in the galaxy. They all listened carefully when humans spoke now. They had learned the hard way what happened when they did not. First item, continued Hyun-Soo, the final reconstruction reports from the Void Hunter War. A holographic display showed the galaxy as it was now. Green zones marked areas that were fully rebuilt and protected. Yellow zones showed places still recovering. There were no red zones anymore. The pirates had been eliminated. The dark spaces had been secured. Peace existed everywhere humans had influence. The Outer Rim colonies are now fully operational, reported General Morthak. He was still a military leader, but now he served the Confederation instead of the old council. Human technology has allowed us to rebuild faster than we ever thought possible. Medical update, said Dr. Kim Soo-yoon, the human who now headed Galactic Health Services. The new treatment centers are operational on all major worlds. We have eliminated 17 diseases that used to kill millions every year. Life expectancy across all species has increased by an average of 40%. Former High Arbiter Quindal sat at the table, but not in a position of authority. He was now the junior administrator for cultural affairs, a job that mostly involved organizing art festivals and museum exhibits. He listened to the reports with a mixture of shame and amazement. The humans had not just saved the galaxy from the Void Hunters. They had rebuilt it into something better than it had ever been before. Democracy had replaced the old system of rule by age and tradition. Individual rights were now protected by law. Species were judged by their contributions, not their history. Trade report, said Minister Kylnath, who had kept her position by being one of the few aliens who understood economics. Galactic commerce has increased by 300% since the formation of the Confederation. Human logistics systems have made trade faster and cheaper than ever before. Defense report, said Admiral Jang, whose human fleet now protected the entire galaxy. No hostile activity detected in any sector. The Void Hunters have not attempted another invasion since their defeat. Intelligence suggests they fear our new defensive systems. Ambassador Hyun-Soo nodded at each report. The galaxy was not just safe now. It was thriving, but she remembered the cost of getting here. Before we move to new business, she said, I want to read something into the record. She activated a holographic document that appeared above the table. It was dated 5 years ago from the final day of the old peace talks. Humans are nothing more than clever animals, she read aloud. They should be grateful we even allow them in this chamber. The words hung in the air like a bad smell. Every alien in the room looked uncomfortable. They all remembered who had said those words and what had happened because of them. Counselor Vexithara was not at the table. He had died 2 years ago from a disease that human medicine could have cured, but he had been too proud to ask for treatment until it was too late. His last words, according to those who were there, had been an apology to humanity that came far too late. I read these words, continued Hyunsu, not to shame anyone, but to remember. We must remember what happens when prejudice and arrogance replace wisdom and humility. She closed the document and looked around the table. The humans never wanted to rule the galaxy. We wanted to be part of it. You made that impossible, so we had to make our own place. Now we lead not because we demanded it, but because you needed us to. President Sujin Ryu, attending virtually from Earth, added her own thoughts. The Confederation exists to make sure no species is ever again treated as we were treated. Every being has value. Every culture has something to contribute. We judge each other by our actions, not our age or our appearance. Former High Arbiter Quindal asked for permission to speak. Hyun-Soo nodded, and the old alien stood slowly. 5 years ago I believed that wisdom came with age, he said, his voice shaking slightly. I believed that newer species like humanity should serve older ones like mine. I was wrong about everything. He looked directly at Hyun-Soo. You offered us friendship and we gave you insults. You offered us partnership and we offered you servitude. You offered us knowledge, and we called it primitive. When you left, I thought you would come crawling back when you got hungry enough. Quindal paused, gathering his thoughts. Instead, you became the most powerful force in the galaxy. You could have conquered us. You could have enslaved us. You could have done to us what we tried to do to you, but you saved us instead. We saved everyone, said Hyun-Soo simply. Including you. Yes, said Quindal. You did, and that is why humans deserve to lead. Not because you are the strongest, though you are. Not because you are the smartest, though you might be. But because when you had the power to rule through fear, you chose to lead through service instead. The SciFi meeting continued with discussions of new exploration missions, scientific research projects, and cultural exchange programs. Everything was different now. Decisions were made by consensus. Every species had a voice. Problems were solved through cooperation instead of force. Later, as the session ended, Counselor Drakven approached Ambassador Hyun-Soo privately. Do you ever regret it? He asked. Saving us, I mean. We treated your people terribly. Hyun-Soo considered the question carefully. I regret that it took a crisis for you to see our worth, she said finally. I regret all the beings who died because of pride and prejudice, but I do not regret saving lives, even the lives of those who wronged us. Your species is remarkable, said Drakven. No, said Hyun-Soo with a small smile. We are just people. People who believe that strength should be used to protect others, not to dominate them. She walked to the great window that looked out over Nexus Station. The station itself had been rebuilt with human technology. It was larger now, more beautiful, and more efficient. Ships from dozens of species came and went peacefully. Families walked through the corridors together, human children playing with alien children, all of them safe and happy. Outside the window, a human patrol ship glided silently through space. It was one of hundreds that protected the galaxy's trade routes. The ships were fast enough to respond to any crisis within hours and powerful enough to stop any threat. But more importantly, they carried crews from many different species working together. Remarkable indeed, Hyun-Soo said quietly to herself. On Earth, President Sujin Ryu stood in her garden watching her granddaughter play with a group of children. Some were human, but others were young aliens whose families had chosen to live on Earth. They laughed and ran together, not caring about species or politics. An aide approached with a data pad. Madam President, the yearly cooperation reports are ready for your review. Sujin took the pad and glanced at the numbers. Galactic GDP was at an all-time high. Crime was at an all-time low. Technological advancement was accelerating. Medical treatment was available to everyone regardless of species or wealth. Educational opportunities were expanding. "Any problems?" she asked. "Nothing major," the aide replied. "A minor trade dispute between the Altarians and the Zentaurians, but the mediation team should resolve it quickly. Some pirates tried to attack a convoy in Sector 7, but they surrendered as soon as human patrol ships arrived." Sujin nodded. That was how most problems were solved now, through talking and cooperation rather than violence. The galaxy had learned that working together produced better results than fighting each other. "Oh," added the aide. "We received another request from the Rim territories asking to join the Confederation. That makes 47 applications this year." "Schedule them for review," said Sujin. "Make sure they understand the requirements: democracy, individual rights, cooperation with other species." "Yes, Madam President." Sujin handed back the data pad and returned to watching the children play. 5 years ago, aliens had demanded that humans give up their worlds. Now, alien worlds were asking to join the human-led Confederation. The irony was not lost on her. That evening, in the rebuilt council chambers on Nexus Station, a small ceremony took place. Ambassador Hyunsu welcomed 3 new species into the Confederation. They were young civilizations, much like humanity had been 5 years ago. "We welcome you not as junior members or servants," she told them, "but as equals and partners. Your cultures, your knowledge, your perspectives, all of these make us stronger together."